Guys, these are the fragrances that really are calling to me. So if you haven't gotten your nose on these fragrances, there's 20 of them here. You must drop everything and go get your nose on these fragrances that are really, really getting me excited about fragrances. I know there's a lot of fragrances out there, but I've tested these ones out, and I'm going to tell you all about them coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Sebastian. We're talking about some new fragrances, mostly new. There are some 2023 fragrances, but the majority of these are from 2024. The 2023 fragrances are fragrances that I'm just discovering and getting my nose on them. But a lot of great stuff here that I want you guys to know about if you haven't gotten your nose on them. There are some strange fragrances. Well, at least one brand that's completely new to me, then might be completely new to you guys as well. And I'll tell you how I discovered it. But let's get on with the list. Here's the list right here, starting with, of course, this fragrance that I collaborated with on. This is 54 from JUSBOX. It's been a fragrance that I've been wearing quite frequently. It's a fragrance that I'm enjoying, and it's one that I collaborated on, so it's a given that I'm really enjoying this one. And it features patchouli as well with gourmand notes. So it not only is warm, spicy with cinnamon, boozy with rum and pina colada, creamy from the pina colada with chocolate, so it's chocolate milky. But it's super delicious and it's very warm, spicy. Of course, the patchouli is king here. It's one that I can't get enough of and wearing quite frequently. If you haven't discovered this one yet, it is now officially selling everywhere. And there is a discount code. I have it linked in the info box. It's 54 from the House of JUSBOX. That one has my seal of approval. It's the fragrance, like I said, I collaborated on. This next fragrance, it's a rare, random find. While I was in Dubai, I was walking through the Dubai Mall, but part of the Dubai Mall that had a different kind of a setting. So it was near the fountains there. And somebody stopped me with a strip of perfume. And I took the strip, smelled it, and I was extremely wowed by it. I walked away with a friend, went to a couple of shops, and then came back, and I sat with this sales associate and bought this. I don't even know this brand whatsoever. This is it right here. It is a Middle Eastern brand. So the way the brand is spelled is THOQ ALHAWAMER. The fragrance is called Aldiwan. It is a really, really fantastic smell. I don't even know what the notes are. I can't find anything about it. It's not on their website. They have some posts on their Instagram account. They're not listing any information. Again, I don't know the brand whatsoever, but as soon as I smelled the strip, I had to have a bottle. It's super fantastic. What I get from this is I feel like it's a rose oud, but a lot of patchouli, but something creamy vanillic is under there as well. And it's super smooth, super sexy, very loud, and super amazing fragrance to wear. Again, I don't know anything about this. I only bought it because I really loved the strip the guy handed to me. I got 2 extra bottles of fragrances with it. They gave me for free when I bought something, and I guess I was haggling with them as well. And I believe I paid around $150 for this with the 2 additional fragrances. I haven't opened up the other 2 fragrances, but I actually gave one of them to a tour guide in Dubai, so I only brought back one of them. But if you guys know anything about this brand, let me know. But this is super amazing. Absolutely love the way it smells on me. It has great projection and sillage as well. But moving on to a fragrance I just recently reviewed. It's from the house of TRUSSARDI. It's PRIMO. So PRIMO is in a really unique bottle. What do you guys think of this bottle? It's a designer fragrance, and I do have some designer fragrances here, designer for men fragrances. This one is a very soft, spicy fragrance, and in my review I mentioned this does have Mugler-like reminders, and most importantly, the taste of fragrance, which was known as Amen Chili, or Chili Amen. So this has a kind of a Calabrian pimento or chili note. I don't get the smell that's similar to that, but the reminder of this fragrance does give me like a Mugler vibe. In the end, it's lava, mineral accord, maple sap, Calabrian pimento, sandalwood, patchouli, geranium, tonka bean, cedar, and grapefruit. A great designer fragrance with a great looking bottle. It does somewhat remind me a little bit of the coloring of Fahrenheit. A little darker than that, but I think this is a great fragrance. If you haven't tried it, please do. I highly recommend it as a men's designer fragrance. But there is just a small negative about that one. Go catch my review and find out more about that fragrance and why I love it so much, and also the negative about that fragrance. But moving on to a fragrance from the house of Ralph Lauren, it's Polo Oud. I bought Polo Oud from the Dubai airport, but I see that now it's at the discounters and it's half price of what I paid for, which is amazing. I didn't know it was at the discounter, and it was launched last year. I'm just getting my nose on it. I'll have a review of this coming out very soon. Stay tuned for that, but I'm featuring it here because I'm really enjoying this one. This is Oud, Incense, Rose, Cinnamon, Orange Flower, Pink Pepper, Clary Sage, Gaiac Wood, Patchouli, and Vetiver. For me, it's like a really awesome designer take on an oud. It's a Western oud, not a funky Middle Eastern style oud. So very wearable. And when I'm wearing it, it's smoky, it's spicy, and of course oud woody. It's a woody note that's very modern, but there's some light hints of floral notes in there as well. But on me, they're supposed to be rose and orange flower. They don't show up too much. So in the end, they're nicely blended together with all the notes. And also when I'm wearing it, there's some slight reminders of the original Polo, the green bottle, but it's a very modern fragrance, a nice designer take on an oud fragrance that I think definitely, if you like the idea of oud, a designer oud, and you like the idea of Polo, definitely get your nose on Polo Oud from the house of Ralph Lauren. I highly recommend it, and stay tuned for my review of that one. But moving on to the house of AESOP or AESOP, this is VIRERE, the latest fragrance. Really love this one. I wore quite a bit of it as when I was shopping for fragrances at Selfridges and Harrods. I ended up with a nice large-sized sample of this one. Really loved it. And finally have the bottle as well. It's a really gorgeous take on a fig fragrance. It's green and aromatic, herbal. Lots of cedar, hay, mate, green tea, mastic, pink pepper, bergamot, galbanum, and petitgrain. And, you know, I get a very nice warm day fig fragrance, but that's breezy, not necessarily like choking heat and things like that. Just a really kind of beautiful aromatic green herbal and spicy take on a fig style fragrance. Even though they're not mentioning fig here, there's definitely the idea of figs in this, and I love the way it smells. If you don't know this one, check it out. I really do enjoy that house. Perhaps I will do a video on the whole entire catalog. Let me know if you're interested of discovering AESOP or AESOP. But moving on to a really super delicious fragrance from the house of D'Orsay Paris. It's Tonka Hysteria. So earlier this year, I had sampled this, and also sampled a work in progress last year in Cannes during duty free. But finished product I sampled during Essence earlier this year. Really, really loved it. And I was telling everybody that there is a Tonka bean fragrance that's about to come out later in the year. It's finally out, and I'm obsessed with the way this smells. It's super gorgeous. I love it. Super delicious, intense, a bit cherry boozy, but very Tonka bean. If you're missing fragrances like Fève Delicious and Tonka Imperial, you might want to check this one out. I'm not saying they're identical, but it's a Tonka bean gourmand, and I love the way this one smells. It's mandarin orange, vanilla, Tonka, benzoin, myrrh, orris, cinnamon, olibanum, and pink pepper. There's definitely a lot of resins here, and also a lot of spice from the pink pepper, so it does come off peppery, but it wears so gorgeously on me. I absolutely love it. It's turned out to be my favorite fragrance from D'Orsay. If you haven't tried D'Orsay's Tonka Hysteria, please do. I definitely recommend that one. It's one of the best launches of 2024. But moving on to the house of MAUBOUSSIN, it's Star for Men. I did a video on this fragrance. It was selling at a fragrance net for $22. It sure enough sold out after the video. Definitely a great designer from the house of MAUBOUSSIN. It's an underrated jewelry house from France, and they always release great fragrances, and this is definitely one of their best. It's amber, Tonka, saffron, incense, olibanum, vanilla, cardamom, cedarwood, iris, orris, papyrus, patchouli, black pepper. It does remind of Leighton, but it's a little different. Definitely vanillic, woody, ambery, spicy, and super delicious fragrance. If you can find this for a budget price, please do. I think it's a perfect fragrance for men, and I think women can totally pull it off as well. Again, it's a really great designer fragrance, hinting at some other familiar fragrances out there, but like MAUBOUSSIN always does some great releases, and they come out with the most beautiful bottles as well. I recently ended up buying the woman's Star as well. Hopefully I'll be reporting on that one, but that's Star for Men from the house of MAUBOUSSIN. Alright, up next, going to the house of Maison Margiela. It's Afternoon Delight, this one right here. Are you guys familiar with this one? I did a full review of this one. It's a Madeleine style fragrance with a lot of vanilla and sandalwood, and the sandalwood in this is creating a milky effect. It might come off a bit medicinal, by the way. The more I wear it, the more sandalwood kind of shines, and sandalwood sometimes has a bit of a medicinal effect in fragrances, but it's super milky, lactonic, very creamy, smooth, vanillic. It does have that kind of a Madeleine cookie kind of smell in there, combined with the milkiness and of course the vanillic touches. But some people were asking if it's smelling like Tendre Madeleine from the house of Laurence Dumont, or the Les Senteurs Gourmands is what it's called now. It doesn't smell like that whatsoever. This is a very sandalwood forward gourmand, so you'll definitely notice the sandalwood. It's uber creamy, milky, whereas the other one did smell like cookies, mostly vanilla cookies. But it's super delicious. Really love it. This is Afternoon Delight from the house of Maison Margiela. But this next fragrance from the house of Maison Crivelli has become my favorite extrait. This is Tuberose Astral. Really wonderful offering. I love wearing this one. It's super sexy, super sexy. Great fragrance from Quentin Biche. One of my favorites from him now. It doesn't remind me too much of something he's done, but then it does, kind of a thing. Like some of the elements that went into this fragrance, he pulled from other fragrances, but then he threw in an overdose of creamy tuberose. Wonderful. Super sexy, compliment getter for me. I absolutely love it. There's some warm, spicy touches in there, musky, vanillic, but it's super fresh with the tuberose note. Tuberose Astral from the house of Maison Crivelli. Wonderful offering. You must get your nose on all of these fragrances, as I'm saying. But moving on to the house of Sospiro, my second favorite fragrance, this is Dolce Sonata, this one right here. So the story of this one I actually spoke about in the review for this. If you haven't caught the review, please go catch it. This is a fantastic fragrance with an amazing sillage and projection. So basically, it leaves a really amazing trail. It's super fruity and super sexy, but there is a kind of a leathery, smoky touch in this that does cut through that fruitiness. It balances it out a little bit. It might come off a bit too smoky or animalic to some people, but I like that balance. It's a nice juxtaposition to mostly fruitiness and floral touches of the fragrance. But I love this one. It didn't beat out Dolce Melodia, but it's definitely number 2 from Sospiro, and I'm really, really loving in the way it smells on me too. So this is Dolce Sonata from the house of Sospiro. We've got another designer fragrance here. Once again for men, it's Boss Bottled Absolute. Definitely beat out the Elixir. I think this is even better than the Elixir for me. I think it's the overuse of Patchouli in this, along with the incense, leather, myrrh, davana, and cedar note. And all of this combined together create for a really intoxicating, super intense designer fragrance for men. Again, it's my favorite compared to the Elixir. Although they're both good, depends on what you like more. I think this is a little more interesting compared to the other, where it seems a bit more Middle Eastern style. I'm kind of bored of Middle Eastern style fragrances. It's becoming too much out there. It's a bit more oudi. Whereas here, the patchouli is more king, and it kind of dominates here and leaves an amazing, sexy trail. So that's what I like about this one, Boss Bottled Absolute. If you haven't gotten your nose on it, please do. It's a great designer offering from that house, which keeps doing some really great things. And that's Annick Menardo and Suzy Laheli, who created that fragrance. All right, up next, going to the house of Amouage, it's Outlands, this one right here. If you caught my video on the trio of new fragrances that come in these bottles recently, the third one in the series is my favorite, created by Cécile Zarokian. It is a super potent fragrance and also very aromatic and spicy. It does have patchouli in it as well, which is what I like. But to me, it reminds me of something I can't figure out. It reminds me for sure of a Cécile Zarokian fragrance, but I don't know what it is. But also some other things that I can't put my nose on. But it wears really amazing, and that's what I like about it. It's geranium, birch, elemi, vanilla, Sichuan, patchouli, anise, benzoin, wormwood, oud, cardamom, orange blossom, and so on and so on and so on with notes. Maybe it's a distant relative to tobacco, royal tobacco from the House of Amouage, but I have to compare them side by side. It's different though. It's a lot of patchouli, but a lot of aromatics, spices, resins, ambery touches are all in here. And it's a really gorgeous creation. Really love wearing it. It's really also potent and, you know, screamer kind of a fragrance. It has great sillage and projection, which is what I like. And great, you know, that Cécile did a great job on this one. It's my favorite of the trio. Outlands from the House of Amouage. Let me know if you're familiar with that. And next, going to the House of Born to Stand Out. It's Filthy Musk. Out of the three, this is my favorite, but all three of them are good, I would think. But the Filthy Musk is super, super sexy. It's super filthy as well. On skin, it starts off a bit gourmand, but it gets dirtier and dirtier and dirtier, which is really something I really love. I love musks to begin with, and I like the idea of musky notes with kind of sweet gourmand notes. And the perfumer did a great job on this. It's pineapple, honey, animalic musk, patchouli, nutmeg, jasmine, jasmine absolute, vanilla, caramel, ambroxan, gray amber, tonka absolute, rum extract, and civet. But I was also told that there is scatol in here. But man, guys, this is one of the best from this house. If you're a musk lover, you must get your nose on it. But it does have that fruity sweetness that's kind of balancing out the dirtiness of the musk. Wears great on me. It's Filthy Musk from the House of Born to Stand Out. Let me know if you're familiar with that one. All right, up next, going to the House of Un Nuit Nomade. It's Estrella de la Mañana, this one right here. So this is a vanilla gourmand, but not necessarily really a gourmand because it's quite leathery. So basically the vanilla bean is quite leathery, and they basically brought out the leathery aspects of the vanilla. It acts sweet and gourmand, but it's dark and smoky and leathery for sure. And I think it's also the fact that they've added birch in here, which creates a bit of a leathery effect with the leatheriness of the vanilla. But it's so gorgeous, so amazing. Not a gourmand, but it acts a bit gourmand-like. But the dark smokiness, the leathery touches do come out. They scream out, and they kind of try and balance each other out. But for me, I think the smokiness wins out just a tad bit. So it's a bit more smoky leathery in comparison to gourmand. But it has the vanilla, the cocoa, benzoin, along with that birch. But a super amazing creation from the house. It's also an extrait de parfum, so it's super strong. Really wonderful offering. It's not for people that like those dark smoky fragrances. Don't go in here thinking this is a full-on gourmand. It doesn't. It's not sugary sweet, caramelly, syrupy, those kind of things. There's vanilla here, but it's definitely very smoky and leathery as well. It's Estrella de la Mañana from the House of Un Nuit Nomade. And this one, this is a really great offering from this house. It's become my favorite. It's Swiss Arabian's Shagaf Vanilla Toffee. The oud word is no longer on here. Is it part of the oud series? Because everything was oud something, wasn't it? I have to double check. But, you know, I discovered this at the Swiss Arabian store when I was in Dubai. I knew it was coming out, and I walked past the store, and I walked back to go in to check this one out. I loved it enough. I bought a bottle of it. It was a really great creation. It's a gourmand for sure. It's coffee, dates, brown sugar, walnuts, toffee, vanilla, cookie dough, tonka beans, benzoin, caviar, musk, woods, milk, cardamom. Again, it's a really, really super delicious creation. My favorite. And also, I feel like this is the most original out of the entire collection. And it's a great, great gourmand. If you love gourmand fragrances, you gotta get your nose on this one. The collection is not very expensive, so I think it'll satisfy a lot of folks looking for fragrances under $100 that smells super delicious. So that is Shagaf Vanilla Toffee from the House of Swiss Arabian. Then also going to a vanilla fragrance that's not super gourmand. So we've got these two. This is Ormond Jane's Vanille des Afriques and also Estrella de la Mañana. Both of them are vanilla fragrances that are not super sugary, sweet, and gourmand. This one actually acts a bit more like a resinous fragrance, like more like mastic resin, but it's a lot of iris and orris in here that kind of balances out the fragrance. It does create a powdery effect, but it's Madagascar and bourbon vanilla with orris butter, jasmine, coriander, Sicilian bergamot, carrot seeds, osmanthus, magnolia buds, cedar, vetiver, amber, and musk. Really great if you're into the idea of trying out and wearing vanilla, but you think it always goes uber sweet and sugary, sweet and vanillic. I mean, like a syrup and caramelly and things like that. You've got to try this one because it doesn't act like that. It's very musky and also super powdery, but there's that whole reminder of mastic resin for some strange reason. I think it's the Orris that's doing that, but a really great creation from the House of Ormond Jane. It's Vanille des Afriques from that house. Let me know if you're familiar with it. All right, up next, going to the House of One Day. It's Taipei. This one right here. Are you guys familiar with this one? You know, this is one of the most unique fragrances from this house. It's a gourmand in that it's more of a savory gourmand. Are you familiar with the difference between sweet and savory? That's exactly what this is, savory. So it has notes of soy milk, rice, taro, guaiac wood, iris, musk, vetiver, and sandalwood. You know what it reminds me of? Chips. Doritos chips. It's got saltiness in here. It's powdery. It's almost like you're opening up the bag and you take a sniff or a whiff, and that's what it smells like. It's so good, guys. So amazing. It's the rice that's in here that's creating it. It's almost like freshly boiled rice, and you open up the cover of the pot and you get that whiff, or the rice cooker. It's like that, but very salty. Like there's a salty effect happening, and I don't know where that's coming from, but it's super, super delicious and one of the best from this house. It was for a while my favorite being oolong tea. This actually has now beat out oolong tea. That is my #2 favorite. Taipei is my #1 favorite. The only thing that came out last year, but I'm just discovering it now and I love it. If you don't know that one, please check it out. But moving on to the house of Miller-Harris, this is Soufflot. Soufflot, that's what it's called. Created by Matthew Nardan. It's a delicious gourmand, recently featured in a pumpkin spice video. If you haven't caught that video, please go catch it. Pumpkin spice is all the craze out there right now in the autumn season, and this does remind me of it. So it's chestnuts, hazelnuts, tobacco, leather, benzoin, honey, cinnamon, Peru balsam, labdanum, ambery, resinous, balsamic for sure. And then you've got the warm spices, and you've got the nutty notes and things like that. So it's gourmand, it's tobacco, it's leather, and also amber. Really super delicious creation by Matthew Nardan. If you don't know it, check it out. It's Soufflot from the house of Miller-Harris. Then the house of Prode. This is Cherry Syrup Black. Are you guys familiar with this one? Very unique fragrance. It's a cherry fragrance, and this house has a lot of different cherry fragrances. This is a Chris Maurice creation. We know Chris Maurice, he does some great work. But he has added galbanum in this and takes that kind of a style into a green direction. Very unique, but really addicting. I love that. It's liquor, galbanum, heliotrope, bitter almonds, cherries, rhubarb, oud, musk, tonka, honey, vanilla, plums, sandalwood, ylang ylang, jasmine, and rose. Just imagine, maybe you're wearing Lost Cherry and you're layering it with something like Chanel No. 19, which is a galbanum bomb. What do you guys think of that combo? This is the kind of thing you get with this one. It's super amazing. I love the way it smells. Very, very addicting. Love it. Anyway, it's got the cherry there. Right now, it doesn't smell too green from the galbanum, but when you're wearing it, the galbanum comes out, and I absolutely love galbanum. So the combination is very unique and a great creation from Chris Maurice. So it's Prode and Cherry Syrup Black. Then last but not least, it's going to the house of Atelier des Ors. It's Cocoa Chimia from the Extrait de Parfum duo of fragrances that they just launched. So it's basically 2 notes that are listed. It's cocoa and cardamom, and you do notice those, but they're not really reporting all the notes. It's what you have to experience. For me, the more I wear this, the more musky it gets, almost like the muskiness of Filthy Musk. So there's a bit of funk in there. I don't know why. Also, amber comes in as well, but it's really, really delicious. Imagine cocoa, cardamom, and then the addition of the ambery touches in the dry down. And then there's this musk that's creeping through. Again, the idea of sweet gourmandish notes with musk is really super sexy. And it kind of is happening in here. It's not as filthy as Filthy Musk, but for me, for some strange reason, I get a musky, ambery dry down with this, along with the cocoa and the cardamom. Really great. We don't have the gold flakes anymore. I guess they decided to do an all-black bottle because it's an extrait de parfum, but it's the best of the two, I think, between the 2 fragrances. So that is Cocoa Chimia from the house of Atelier des Ors, and that is an extrait de parfum fragrance, and that's the last fragrance for you guys. What are your thoughts on these fragrances? I think if you haven't tried them yet, please go try them. Get your nose on these fragrances. They're going to be hits soon. I think they're going to be really amazing to wear during these months, because we've got, you know, the cooler months when we want to wear darker, more longer lasting fragrances, and I think these are perfect for those days. The only one you might have a difficult time with is this one. I don't know. I just stumbled onto it and I had to buy it because it smelled so good on the strip. I tested it out on skin. I loved it. But the rest of them should be fairly easy. But let me know your thoughts on these fragrances. Add a comment below. And thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.